Welcome back to the channel, and today we're taking a look at the Tempest Knives Micro Jet. I got to handle this knife at Blade Show, and I'll be honest, I don't remember who was at the booth, but I tried to talk them out of this knife. I wanted to buy it right then and there. I fell in love with this knife from the first second I put it in my hand. Now, I reviewed its bigger brother. As soon as I finished reviewing this one, I pre-ordered this one. Now, this particular model is not going to be a pre-order. He's already paid for the run, which is awesome. And I can tell you right now, I can only imagine how much that run cost after working with Devo knives and the Fireball. I know it's not cheap whatsoever. He's looking for a late September, early October release, and I'm sure it'll be on the Tempest Knives site. I will definitely remind y'all when it's closer or whenever I find out an exact date. If you are interested in this, I will have all of Tempest Knives information down in the description, and I'll also put the Tempest Knives Instagram page down there as well. So he said right now there's this version with the carbon fiber belt satin blade, 2 titanium versions, and possibly a surprise version. I always love to hear that. He's shooting for around $140 to $150 price point. And this is kind of my Goldilocks EDC size. This is coming in at 7.01 inches with a 3.07 inch drop point blade. And being this one's a prototype, it's in D2 steel, but the actual production will be in 154 cm. I am pretty excited about that. I like 154 cm. It sharpens easy. It holds a good edge. It's tough. It's stainless. And it's just a very well-balanced steel. I'm pretty certain the OEM to this is Kubi Knives. If I'm wrong about that, I'll put it up here. But I have been thoroughly impressed with Kubi's progression over the years. They have went from mediocre stuff way back when to now it's just like, wow, they produced that? So this particular prototype, you can see it has a nice clean belt satin finish. Love that belt satin. Then you have your flats have a horizontal satin finish. And one thing I noticed whenever I was doing the testing with the bigger brother and this one is that jimping is perfection. It's not uncomfortable. It grips that thumb. If you like jimping, you will love this one. It's a nice long row of jimping. So if you choke back, you got it. If you choked up, you're still getting this portion right here. This is a very versatile low tip drop point, as you can see. And you have a fairly robust tip there, so if you need to do a little poking, prodding, piercing, you can definitely do that. Easily get the tip on the materials to do drag cuts, fine, precise cuts. You can do that very easy, and you still have a nice straight portion to do in-hand cuts very easily. And of course, this one's really going to excel at cutting on a flat surface because you have that little bit of belly in the front. It does have a well-executed sharpening choil. As you can see, the plunge goes all the way back here, so you should have tons of sharpening life before to widen up at the heel. This one has a flat grind, and it comes down to around 21 thousandths behind the edge on the prototype. This is in D2, so keep that in mind, but we're going to see how it cuts. I already figured this knife would perform well because I tested and reviewed its larger brother. Now, this one is a prototype, and it's in D2 steel. And the actual production models will be in 154 cm. So we're just, doing some testing just to see how the smaller blade feels, see if there's anything different from the large. And so far, so good. I love that blade shape. It's a low tip drop point. That belly starts to creep up right at the end. You got a good bit of flat, straight edge. And one thing that Casey always does very well is ergonomics first. It seems like he worries about that first. I think all of his knives almost have at least a slight contour to the handles. I could be wrong there, but every one so far, that was the first thing I noticed right off the back. And I'm putting a lot of pressure into this wood. And that's usually what I'm looking for most of all whenever you see me doing the wood. I'm not trying to whittle or anything. I'm not a bushcrafter. Just trying to see if there's anything poking me or anything. Now we go to the 1/2 inch sisal rope, and it does pretty well. Now this is another one that, I cut a piece of rope, and I think I cut like 100 cuts, and just making sure that, it felt like it was cutting cleanly, and nothing crazy in the pinch grip. I already knew the blade shape was going to perform nice. just because of the way it is. You know, that belly's perfect for the flat cutting surface cuts, and that's why this is such a versatile blade shape. But yeah, one thing I will say, I checked the edge bevel, and from what I remember, I think it's like 25 degrees per side. That is something I would love for them to lower. Now, maybe that's something they do on D2 blades, I don't know. But, and it is a flat grind, so I think it would just perform way better. Now, of course, you know, you could always put your own edge on it. That's the beauty of this. So, is it really that big of a deal? Probably not. You know, as long as it's a sharp edge, it should perform. It should perform well. It would just perform leaps and bounds better whenever you lay the edge back. But that's just me. You know, some people are using their knives as hard use tools. You know, that's not me. I don't really have any hard use things to do unless I'm testing for having fun with my knives. That's what I like to do. So, you know, it's probably not what you'd want to do with this knife either. This is a good EDC size and good EDC weight. But tip work, excellent. And, you know, for the most, from what I can gather, it performed nicely. And I think the 154 CM is going to perform even better. And yeah, I hope I have the money whenever this one comes out, because I will definitely be buying probably the exact version I have, the carbon fiber. I like that weight on it, and it was so comfortable in hand. So excellent job, KC. Another shining example of good ergos. Now let's take a look at the deployment and action of this knife. So you have this very minimal, discreet flipper tab with jumps there. Works great. And then you have this blade hole that works even better, and that's probably my favorite means to deploy the knife. Well-tuned detent for both actions. That's another thing that Kubey Knives has been nailing. It's riding on ceramic bearings with a ceramic detent ball, giving it that glassy, smooth action. It's not a complete fall shut, but it's a nice controlled drop, and I kind of like that better. And that flipper is nice and fast. I like the fact that I can clear this back portion whenever I pull back on it, so it's nice and comfortable to flip. Now let's take a look at the handle area. You got this beautiful normal weave carbon fiber, and I'll be honest, if I'm going to do carbon fiber, I like the normal stuff. I think it looks nice. It shimmers off the weave shimmers off the lights a lot better. Hopefully that's showing up, but you have a very fine micro milling on the carbon fiber. Gives you a little bit of texture. And then if you look down, you have a very slight contour on the scales. It's either a very slight contour or they did a good job on the side, but it feels really good in hand. All these edges are softened. I don't know if y'all can see that little bevel going around. It's nice and soft, no hard angles anywhere. You have the Tempest Knives signature rim pivot. That's pretty cool that they can do something that small. And on this side, you have it as well. Torx T8 everywhere. Excellent, even on the pocket clip. You have a tip-up milled titanium pocket clip that is reversible. You also have that filler tab, so you don't have a hole sitting there. You do have a little partial backspacer that houses a hidden lanyard pin. So if you're a lanyard guy, you got your lanyard, but you don't have to have an extra hole in this scale. Keep those lines pretty darn clean. Talked about it during the cutting, but when it comes to Tempest Knives, I know Casey is going to make the knives very comfortable in hand. This one doesn't have any crazy choils or anything, kind of like a broomstick style handle with this little soft choil on there. Very comfortable no matter which grip I hold it in, and that's something I always look for in a really good EDC knife. Make sure the pocket clip stays out of the way of my palm and nothing is stabbing me while I'm cutting light stuff and heavier stuff. That's pretty much why I do a lot of the stuff I test. It's to see how it's going to feel doing all those tests. And so far, every single knife from Tempest Knives that I've reviewed on the channel, which I'm pretty sure it's all of them, have all been an A++ in the comfort department. Let's take a look at the inside. You have inset stainless steel liners that have been heavily skeletonized on the top. And on the bottom in the back side, hopefully y'all can see that, There's a lightning pocket there as well, bringing the weight to 2.98 ounces. So this thing is a featherweight, and it's been a joy to carry this one. I'm definitely going to be sad to have to send it off to the next guy. But yeah, like I said, if I can afford it, I will definitely be buying one of these. Now, your pocket clip's not a deep carry, but I find it sits fairly deep. As you can see, that's all you have sitting there. It goes in and out of the pocket nicely, especially with this carbon fiber variant. And it hugs the side of the pocket. No flipper tab sticking out because of the way he designed that flipper tab. So if you put your phone in there or something, it's not going to be rubbing against the flipper tab. Comes out of the pocket nicely. And the lockup on this one is around 50% or so. I had to shine some light in there so you could actually see it with the contrast of the carbon fiber. Access to the lock bar is perfection. The show side scale comes down a little bit lower. You also have a chamfer on that lock bar, so it's nice and comfortable to get my thumb in there. Nice solid engagement. No play, any direction, very tight lockup. Love seeing that. Quick size comparisons, we got the Ontario Rat 1 and 2, and it's almost identical to the Rat 2. It's a hair longer than the Rat 2. And as you can see here, it's a hair shorter than the QSP Penguin, and it's a hair longer than the Civivi Elementum. And lastly, it's a little bit shorter than the Spyderco Para 3, but it has more cutting edge than Para 3, and it's a hair longer than the Hogue Ritter Mini RSK. All right, nitpicks and complaints. The only thing I really have, and it's just a nitpick, is I wish the edge bevel was a little bit smaller from the factory. I wish more companies would at least put them at 20 degrees per side. You know, that's not terrible having to reprofile it to 17. That's pretty much what I put on all mine, is either 17 or 18 degrees. Now, even if you're going to use it as a hard worker, 20 degrees is more than enough. It's still going to slice well. Now, that's what's on a lot of Spydercos, and it's still going to be a tough edge. But that's just my mileage. You know, I like a really good slicer. This one did slice really well, because as long as you have a sharp edge on it, it's going to perform well. Now, the caveat to that is every time you sharpen it, it's going to get thicker and thicker behind the edge. So that's why I love hollow grinds, but you know, this one makes more sense as a flat grind. All in all, I absolutely love it. I'll reiterate it once again. If I have the money, the time that these drop, and I'm able to snag one, I am definitely going to buy one. I love the size. I love the action. I love the way it looks. I love that drop point. I love a nice versatile blade. It checks all the boxes for me. And not to mention, I'd be supporting a friend and a very, very nice guy. Here's his card. You can pause and read that. Like I said, I will have everything down in the description as well. Let me know what you think about the new Micro Jet. Are you planning on picking one up? And if you have any questions in particular, feel free to ask me. If I can't answer them or I don't get to you, I'm sure Casey from Tempest Knives will. And I hope everyone else having an absolute amazing day. I will see y'all on the next one. Hey.